The moment the elevator doors slid open, Jonathan Reeves realized he had stepped into the wrong life, not just the wrong meeting. The room was smaller than the executive boardrooms he owned, the air heavier, the faces tired instead of polished, and for the first time in years, the billionaire CEO felt something unfamiliar settle in his chest, discomfort mixed with curiosity. This was not where power was supposed to sit, yet something invisible urged him to stay, to listen, to be still in a world where he was always obeyed. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a second and engage with this moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of listening, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Jonathan Reeves had built his empire in Chicago, rising from a scholarship student to the head of a multinational tech firm whose glass towers reflected the sky like monuments to ambition. His calendar was a battlefield of meetings, acquisitions, and decisions that affected thousands, yet his days had grown numb. That morning, distracted by a call about stock fluctuations, he stepped into a conference room meant for a corporate restructuring briefing. Instead, he found himself seated among mid-level employees gathered for an internal ethics review after a sudden round of layoffs. No one recognized him immediately without the tailored suit jacket and title card. For once, Jonathan was invisible. As the meeting unfolded, he listened. Not to profit forecasts or market expansion, but to exhaustion, fear, and quiet resilience. A systems analyst named Marcus spoke about losing his wife to illness while working overtime to keep health insurance. A project coordinator named Hannah described sleeping in her car after rent spiked beyond her salary. A single father named Thomas sat silently, hands clasped, eyes fixed on the floor, carrying a weight words could not hold. Their struggles were not dramatic headlines, they were slow-burning realities Jonathan had unknowingly approved with the swipe of a pen. The room felt cinematic in its stillness, fluorescent lights humming above as if reluctant witnesses. Jonathan's mind drifted backward to his own beginnings in rural Ohio, where his mother, Margaret, worked 2 jobs and still found time to pack his lunch with handwritten notes reminding him to stay kind. Somewhere between success and survival, he had misplaced that lesson. Listening now, he felt the distance between policy and humanity collapse, and it unsettled him more than any financial loss ever had. The meeting ended quietly, with no applause, no solutions promised. Jonathan remained seated long after others left, his reflection faintly visible in the darkened screen at the front of the room. For the first time, he questioned the meaning of leadership. Power had always meant control to him, yet what he witnessed demanded responsibility. That afternoon, he cancelled his remaining appointments and walked through the lower floors of his own building, observing the people he had reduced to numbers. He noticed tired eyes, forced smiles, and a culture surviving despite neglect. Change did not come in a dramatic press release. It began with Jonathan requesting raw reports instead of filtered summaries, insisting on anonymous employee feedback, and sitting in rooms where his presence was not announced. He discovered how policies designed for efficiency had quietly eroded dignity. He learned that listening required surrendering ego, and that discomfort was often the doorway to growth. The company's profits dipped briefly as benefits were restored and layoffs paused, but something else began to rise: trust. Weeks later, Jonathan returned to that same meeting room, not as a mistaken attendee, but as a man reshaped by silence. He carried with him a renewed understanding that leadership was not about being heard, but about hearing what others were afraid to say. In offices across the country, from Illinois to Pennsylvania to Texas, people began to feel seen. Productivity improved not because of pressure, but because people mattered again. If this story is resonating with you so far, pause for a moment and tell us something in the comments. Have you ever felt truly heard when you least expected it? Your words might inspire someone reading quietly, just like Jonathan once did. Near the end of that year, Jonathan stood alone in his penthouse apartment overlooking Lake Michigan, city lights flickering like distant promises. He realized that success without empathy had nearly cost him his soul. The wrong meeting had become the most important decision of his life, not because he spoke, but because he listened. The people he once overlooked had taught him how to lead, how to remember, and how to return to himself. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that listening can change lives, please engage with this video. Like it, share it, and stay connected with this channel so more stories like this can reach those who need them most. And just before you go, leave a comment below telling us what kindness means to you. Sometimes, the smallest voice carries the greatest truth. The elevator doors closed again that night, but Jonathan Reeves was no longer the same man who had walked into the wrong meeting. He had finally arrived where he was meant to be,